Mike, do you know, have you had a chance to meet Victor yet, our new Public Works Director, or Melinda, our City Architect, or John, our Facilities Director?
Hi, Tim. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. I was just asking if you've had a chance to meet some of our newer folks.
I can't hear you.
You can't? Christina, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you.
You're coming in for us, Tim. I can answer part of the question for you, Tim. Mike and I have met on the EMERF board.
Okay, great.
Tim, I can't hear you.
We can hear you perfectly, Mike. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I hope, Mike, you can figure out your tech issues. We can certainly hear you though. So maybe we can try to use the chat or something, but all right. So I'm gonna call this
Tim,
meeting.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
I still can't hear.
We can hear you perfectly.
How's that?
We can hear you perfectly, Mike. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. So this is the meeting of the Englewood Environmental Foundation, EEF, Thursday, March 30th, 2023.
Unfortunately, I can't hear anything.
Michelle, would you be able to message Mike and try to help him troubleshoot?
Will do.
Thank you so much. Great. So first is approval of minutes. So we have the February 22nd, 2023 minutes that were attached. Thank you, Michelle, for your work on those. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Great. Thank you, Christina.
Second.
Great. Thanks, Member Lowe. Jackie, we have a motion and a second. We'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 No opposed, no opposition. 3 being present, motion carries unanimously. Great. Next is recognition of public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to address the EEF board as a member of the public? Michelle, do we get information from anyone wanting to address the board?
No.
Great. All right, so then we're going to move into new business. So we have received the 2 reports, the report, and thank you, Michelle, for coordinating the payment of these and the process. We've received the 2 reports for Terracon Environmental. Those reports are attached. I just want to do a check-in and see if there are any questions that board members have on these. So I don't know, Christina or Jackie, if there's anything you want to talk about related to the reports or questions that you have. And I believe Mike has had the reports and reviewed them as well. If he wants to chime in.
I did not have any questions.
Okay, Jackie?
I don't have any questions either.
Great. So the next item, I do have an update. So this is outreach to CAM participants and CAM manager successor. So we have, counting the city, there are 7 CAM members. Thank you tremendously, Michelle, for sending out a letter to the CAM participants. So as a reminder, we were asking the CAM participants if EEF does dissolve, if they would prefer that the city provides services handled by EEF currently, or whether they would prefer that the CAM contract with another third party. I did not hear back from, so obviously the city is one. I did not hear back from 3 of them. I did not hear back at all from RTD, from Walmart, or from Chuck E. Cheese. Of the 3 that I did hear back from, one is, it's the building where Colorado Retina is. And I forget the name of that company that bought it. Liquidation. Eleanor is no.
LNR.
Okay, Eleanor. Yeah, thank you. So LNR, which owns that property, has said they prefer a third party. Art Walk City, the apartments have said they prefer a third party. And then Hamden LLC, which is doing business as Drake Asset Management. I think they're now called Drake Hamden Partners, have said that they prefer that the city would provide services. Dan, do you happen to know what property they might own?
No, I don't. I'm trying to recall. And I can coordinate with Michelle and maybe get an address and track that down.
Okay, yeah, the name of I can give you the info, but the name of the gentleman, the contact is named Glenn Villarreal.
Okay,
And they just changed their name in January of 2023 to Drake Hamden Partners LLC. But previous they were 501 Hamden LLC, doing business as Drake Asset Management.
okay.
Yeah, so I don't know at this point. It's kind of inconclusive. So we have, of the three that responded, two prefer one prefers another. And then we're still missing about half. So I don't know, Jackie and Christina, how you feel, but I think at this point, it just means that we probably don't have enough information to make a recommendation, and we need to try to reach out to the entities that have not responded. What's really difficult is the three that haven't responded are huge international companies, and the addresses that we have for them are their corporate entity addresses. And so I'm not really sure, if they've been passed to the appropriate.
And Tim, could you remind us, if I remember correctly, of these two companies that responded? One prefers city to continue the management. The other want to find their own management company, right?
So they prefer a third party, and Mike and any others who have information on this, please chime in. My understanding, though, is because and I think Victor, you did some research on this, because they're members of the CAM itself, we would need to have a CAM meeting where we would need to select a third party. So it would be the same third party, but it would be all the members voting. So it wouldn't be like Chuck E. Cheese would hire X company and Walmart would hire Y company. It would be that they would hire one company together as opposed to turning it over to the city. And Victor, I don't know if you want to address the research that you found on that.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So while you were out, I was able to talk with Tamara in legal, and based on the EEF documents, in order for changes to the CAM to happen, all CAM members would have to vote, and it had to be unanimous agreement. And that goes for all actions. If we wanted to dissolve the CAM and let each property owner take their own responsible piece, all CAM members would have to agree. If one property owner wanted to be removed from the CAM and do their own, which would have impacts obviously on the rest of the remaining group, again, all CAM members would have to vote and agree. So that goes for all actions associated with the CAM.
Okay.
Yeah,
so-
Tim,
Go ahead.
I'm a little surprised we asked them what their preference was. I thought they had an approval right over who the property director was. But I think if we got a third party involved right now under any scenario, boy, it could really complicate things versus just having the property director responsibilities transferred back to the city. And I think it would be easiest to get all the 7 parties to agree to that, just for sake of future communications with them.
Yeah, so I don't know if you were on the emails, Dan, but the reason that was done is because it would revert back to the city. The city attorney actually was the one that made that recommendation that we do that. So that's why it was done. Oh yeah, Mike, jump in.
Yeah, let me interject for a minute. First of all, I don't know why we're talking about 7. There really were only 3 parties to the CAM agreement. It was the apartment developer, whoever that is currently who owns the apartments. It was Walmart, and it was the retail owner, which Dan, you have to refresh my memory, is that now, who owns the retail piece?
It's L&R is the special servicer who represents the foreclosing
Well,
bondholders.
those are the only three people that have a vote. Chuck E. Cheese was not a member of the CAM. There was a separate agreement between the city and Chuck E. Cheese where we volunteered to take care of their property in exchange for them contributing to the cost, because we were concerned that it was so integral to the total project that if it wasn't properly taken care of, it would impact the rest of us. So we volunteered, but they don't have a vote. They're not a member of the CAM. And I don't know who the other two people are, but they also, well, there was an agreement with the property on the eastern corner, the southeast corner of the site. Again, like Chuck E. Cheese, where we voluntarily agreed to take care of their property in exchange for them contributing to the cost. But again, they're not a member of the CAM. They don't have a vote. And so I think you only got the three. And in the past, in order to get Walmart's approval for anything, the first contact was with the store manager. And then it was, we left it up to them to pass it up the chain, their corporate chain, to find out whoever else was responsible. But if you start with a corporate chain, by the time it comes down to the local store, you probably are not going to get an answer. I'm not sure, Dan, that we have a right to pass off the responsibility for maintaining the CAM to anybody, the city or anyone else. We have a right, so long as we are the CAM operator, to delegate the authority. But once EEF is gone, I'm not sure that we have any assignment right. I think it requires a vote of the other three people, but it's only those three people. So I'm confused as to how it got off track here.
Well, thanks for that, because I had asked internally for a list of CAM participants, and that's how I got the list, and that's who I reached out to. So
those are the people paying into the CAM,
Okay.
but they're not the CAM participants.
So the good news, though, in that is then we've actually heard back from two of the three. So we have heard back from L&R, and we have heard back from Art Walk City. So Walmart, I'm happy to go over there tomorrow and talk to the store manager. Happy to do that. So this was really just meant to be, again, it was requested by another office. It was meant to be exploratory. I will say, I think a positive that came out of it is, I think there's been a lot of turnover in some of these agencies, and they were unfamiliar with EEF and unfamiliar with the CAM and unfamiliar with services. So I do think it actually has had that positive impact of, you know, being aware of what's going on and what it is and what the services that are provided. So I do, even though there was some confusion around it, I do think it was a positive perspective. So I think moving forward, I'll try to reach out to Walmart. This was meant to be an informal poll. You know, once it dissolves, I believe, as you said, Mike, it would, if it does dissolve, it would then go to the city to determine how to do that, and the three CAM. So that was just really an update. And so there's no action, obviously, on it. Thank you. All right. So the next is discussion and next steps in EEF dissolution. So I did want to let the board know that on the city side, there will be a discussion with city council that we will not be a part of, because we're a separate entity, about whether how they want to proceed with it, and whether you know, they want to move forward with accepting deeds for the property. And so I think, you know, if that were to happen, Mike, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we would need to file some paperwork. Is that correct, with the Secretary of State's office? And I think you had provided earlier what the steps were, but there are a few things we would have to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a plan of dissolution and a dissolution file with the Secretary of State, which are primarily formalities. in deeds transferring the property to the city, which would be subject to any of the existing requirements for the property that are of record.
Do any of the board members have any questions about the dissolution? I mean, right now we're much closer than we were. We've had the 2 reports received, environmental reports. It is now being discussed by the city. So we're moving along with it. Now we're just in a holding pattern again to see how the city wants to proceed with it.
Tim, do we know what the timeline is? Do we have a timeline?
It's on the agenda for the next council meeting.
Okay.
Hey Trey, welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Jackie, do you have any questions about it?
No, thank you.
All right, so now we're on to new business item D, which is approval of the PSA extension with Strae Advisory Services. Melinda, or Trey, or John, are you presenting this item? Or is this
It's mine, Tim.
Go ahead, Dan.
I think it's fairly straightforward. It's just a request by community development staff to have EEF fund the amendment and extension for Strae Advisory Services from April 1 through the end of this year for $70,000, which is on top of the $25,000 that's been funded by community development for the first 3 months of the year. And these expenses were largely created by the withdrawal of the SKB TRIBA team from the master development role late last year. And, as a practical matter, the community development budget did not have time to really accommodate increase in a number of expenses that were required by this change, and all of the efforts that are underway to now move forward and find a replacement master developer. So we reverted to kind of a partnering approach that had been used between community development and EEF, utilizing their significant unassigned balance account, cash account. And so we're hoping that this is an acceptable approach that's consistent with past approaches and generally reflects the benefits that'll accrue to EEF and the city by utilizing Strae in this role. It reflects kind of the same pattern that we've established with Kaplan Kirsch and Rockwell, as well as with Dig Studio. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Dan, I have a question. Thank you for your email. I wonder if you have the information by hand. How much did the city pay for Strae in the past? And what's the result, what's the accomplishment, and how much we're paying for Strae this year? If there's any increase, what's the difference? So I just want to know the past contribution, what we pay, and if what we're paying now, if there's any difference or added value.
Generally speaking, I think they received probably in the vicinity of $70,000 to $80,000 a year in compensation as a sub-consultant to Kaplan Kirsch and Rockwell. Their total scope of services for this year has been expanded somewhat in consideration of all the replacement activities for the master developer. We're anticipating going out with a master developer RFP later this year, and Mark and his partner Elizabeth Lee are very involved in helping us with day-to-day negotiations with L&R right now. So yeah, there's actually quite a step up in the amount of time that will be required of them this year for not too much of an increase in total compensation.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Victor, I see your hand up.
Sorry about that, Tim. That's from before. I'm going to take that down.
Of course. Jackie, do you have any additional questions, or Christina, do you have any questions?
No,
Nope.
Hey, do I have a motion on the table?
I will make a motion. Have it up. I'll make a motion to move this forward.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's do a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the PSA extension with Strae Advisory Services, say aye.
Aye.
Not hearing any opposed or any abstentions. 3 being present, motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Dan, for your work on that.
Thank you all. Appreciate it very much.
Now we're at 4E, approval of purchase order with K&amp Enterprises for fountain maintenance. Turn this over to Trey or Melinda.
Hey, how's it going?
Great to see you back, Trey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so some of a lot of these important items like the large and small inverters, they're what control the fountain. They turn them on and off. And last year that went down, so they had to come in and turn those on manually. So that's what you see on the quote, and that's one of the more important ones. Also changing the box out and changing the wires. This includes the fountain startup also, the power washing, the fountain, and the surrounding sidewalks, flushing the pipes, clearing and replacing filters as needed, rebuilding the pumps, and checking the softwares. And then maintenance, they'll be coming twice a week as needed to check and make sure everything's running smoothly. And also at the end of the year, winterizing. And then any unforeseen maintenance repairs, pipe breaks, soaping, that's happened a few times, valve replacements. And also in that quote is in October, turning the water pink. We have the pink dye, so.
Yeah, and that, just to point out, I see that Trey is $185, and that was, or for the board's edification, this was a request by council that in years past, in recognition of Breast Cancer Month, which I believe is in October, the fountain turned pink, and so that was why that $185 was added, so that we can continue to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Quick question, Trey.
Yes.
Is this a new vendor? Or is it
No, he's been with us for at least the past 5 years that I've been here. And he's great. He knows the system in and out, so I really trust him with it. Anytime there's any problems, he's out there within the hour. So
Okay, thank you.
I know Trey. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Trey, it's what, $2,500 every time the fountain gets soaped. So that adds up very quickly. That's why that additional request is so high.
Yeah, definitely. And it's happened a few times. Luckily last year, I think it only happened once. Years before it was 2 or 3 times. So just trying to stay on top of it and making sure our security team is patrolling that area quite a bit.
Yeah, thanks, Trey. I know this is a not to exceed amount, obviously a little over 69,000, but it looks like all of it is prescribed except for the $12,000 as needed. Is that correct? Meaning the other items will almost certainly go up to those.
Yeah, and a good thing he did this year was he changed it to an hourly rate. So whenever he came out, it's an hourly rate instead of him charging us whatever it was last year. And I'm not too sure what it was last year, but that's how he was able to bring the price the same as last year, because it was more than last year's, but then we talked to him and see if he can work with us, and he was able to.
Great. Are there any other questions for Trey before we get a motion?
Oh, and just one more comment on that $12,000. That is what they charged last year for additional items. But like Trey had mentioned, this year they gave us an hourly rate. So that amount, we put it in there so we would have enough money in the purchase order, but anything that they'll need to come out and repair, they'll charge us time and materials, and then we'll bill that towards the 12,000. So that kind of helped again, like Trey said, with our overall budget.
Any additional questions? All right, then can I get a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve K&M Enterprise to not exceed $69,000 or $69,026.
Great, can I get a second?
Oh, a second.
Thank you. Any further discussion before we take a vote? Hello, great, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the purchase order with K&M Enterprises for fountain maintenance, please say aye.
Aye.
And no opposed, no abstentions. Motion carries with 3 voice votes unanimously. Great. Thank you very much, Melinda and Trey, for your work on that. And great, now we're at our last item, adjournment. Are there any other comments that we need to make or questions that people have before we adjourn the meeting? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Carries unanimously, no abstentions, no voting no. Great. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.